Good morning and welcome to Committee of the Whole meeting of the municipality of the County of Annapolis. We'll have roll call starting with District 1, please.
Bruce Prout.
District 2, Brian Pascano.
District 3, Dustin Inflow.
District 4, Clyde Burrow.
District 5, Lynn Longmire.
District 6, Alec Morrison.
District 7, David Hudson.
District 8, Michael Gunn.
District 9, Wendy Sheridan.
District 10, Red Redmond.
District 11, Diana Black.
Thank you. Any disclosure of interest? Thank you. And we have the order of the day. Are there any additions? Thank you. And we'll now move to approval of the minutes. The first, the 10th of January.
So moved.
Just only if there's errors or omissions.
February 6th.
Can you
Yes.
backtrack?
Sure.
Page 6. Under new business. Not warden's report, but the next one. Set a date for special committee of the whole referring the proposed S4 local improvements. Did we set a date for that, or did we just let it go?
No, we did not.
So we need to do something about that.
I think that was going to come back to you from staff.
Okay, perfect, thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. 11th of April. Twelfth of April. Thank you. 5.1, information report, dangerous and unsightly premises, fourth quarter report. Thank you. 5.2, Tom School Bus Vendor. Councilor LeBlanc, please.
I move that municipal council authorize the clerk to issue a 2023-24 vendor municipal property permit to Tom Marshall for the operation of Tom's Cool Bus Canteen at the Annapolis River Causeway Park in accordance with the S6 commercial activity on municipal property bylaw and permit the canteen to stay at the park overnight from the May to October season, subject to reasonable requests from the municipality to move it from time to time.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Longmire. Discussion. Councillor Longmire.
Thank you, Gordon. Just around liability with the bus staying there overnight, what are we responsible for in terms of liability in case there was
Background.
challenges such as vandalism or such?
He has liability insurance.
Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
It's in the
Yeah, I
background.
saw that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn, please.
And also, I was talking to Mr. Marshall, and he says that he has plans to put video surveillance
Yes.
Yes.
on the thing this year,
Yes.
which is good for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Whitman's here if anybody has any questions directly.
The county has been named as an additionally insured on his insurance policy as well.
That's good to know.
As required.
All right. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Lawrencetown. Councillor, Deputy Warden, please.
Thank you. I move that municipal council authorize a withdrawal of $407,272.50 from the Fire Services Capital Reserve to the Lawrencetown District Volunteer Fire Department in the 2023-2024 fiscal year to assist with the purchase of their tanker.
Seconder. Councillor Bartow, please. Discussion, Deputy Warden.
Thanks. Less discussion and more just aside. They're celebrating the 125th anniversary this year on June 17th, and we'll be showcasing this year as well. More on that at council.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. 5.4, Councillor Hudson, please.
Yes, I move that municipal council acknowledge that the Bridgetown Volunteer Fire Department is proceeding with obtaining quotes for a replacement of their, it should be pumper, not tanker. I was advised of that a couple minutes ago.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Bartow. Discussion? Councillor Enslow, please.
Thank you. The same as the deputy warden. It's not really, it's just kind of a shout out. So this year is the 150th anniversary of the Bridgetown Fire Hall. I had a meeting with them over the weekend about planning and preparation. So it looks like a tentative date will be the 28th of July with the rain date of the 29th, but more to come on that. They're trying to make it a whole year event, and they're also getting confirmation on if they're the second or third oldest fire department in Nova Scotia. So I think that's quite the achievement, because first place is held between Halifax and Annapolis Royal. I guess it all depends who you ask. They're planning on quite a few celebrations, and it's nice to see that the community is supportive of that, as well as the amount of members that they have. They have almost a full complement, which is pretty nice to see.
Thank you. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 5.5, Councillor Bartow, please.
Municipal Council, the first reading, the M10 sewer charges bylaw.
Second. Councillor LeBlanc, thank you. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Thank you. 5.6. Councillor Crowe, please.
I move that Municipal Council amend AM-1.2.0 Committees of Council and Council Meetings Procedures Policy by adding the words, "and such consideration shall be deemed as fulfilling the requirement for 7 days' notice to Municipal Council before a policy is passed, amended, or repealed in accordance with subsection 48(1) of the Municipal Government Act. In subsection 47A, bracket 1, bracket 7-day notice."
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Connell, discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Opposed? Motion carried. 5.7, Deputy Warden, please.
I move that Municipal Council authorize the county to join the Municipal Physical Activity Leadership Program, partnering with the province of Nova Scotia to hire an active living coordinator who will develop and implement a physical activity strategy.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Enslow. Thank you. Discussion. Councillor Connell.
So if this staff person is hired, what happens when the province decides not to fund their percentage? Is that job done? Or are we going to be on the hook for 100%?
respond to that one. So this is a program of longstanding that's been in place for close to 20 years now. If that did occur, which I think is highly unlikely, then there would be a decision to be made at that time. So just to clarify, this is up to $25,000 per year, which would be prorated this year at the time of the hiring. That represents approximately 50% of this position.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc.
So, thank you. So if we look at it that way, are you saying that at the end of each year that person would be, or the position would be reposted?
No. Once this agreement is signed, it will stay in place unless the province withdraws the program or unless the county makes the decision to eliminate or in some way alter this position.
But it doesn't say that in the motion. So is that needed in the motion? Or is that just...
So the motion is to ratify an agreement with the province.
Yes.
For the partnership to provide this funding.
So then the question is, should there be a second motion? If they do, then... I'm just asking a question.
It's absolutely possible for council to do that. I think it's anticipating something that is highly unlikely.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Gunn.
Thank you so much. Is this the new hire?
Yes.
Period? We don't have anybody on staff at the moment.
This would go through a competition process as almost all of our positions normally do. So we would be posting in a public manner, and if there are internal applicants, they would be considered the same as public candidates would on merits.
Thank you. Councillor Bartow, please.
We just passed the operating budget. Where did this money come from?
This money was included in the operating budget. So you will recall that there were partner things that were being asked. One was that the Remo position go full-time, and that if that happened, leaving the amount of money that had previously been provided for that staff person in the recreation budget provides the funding to match the province to make a full-time position for active living coordinator. And I should inform you that we do have confirmation from the town of Annapolis Rural approving their contribution to the full-time Remo coordinator.
Thank you. CEO.
Just to clarify, so typically when the draft agreement comes forward to us from the province, it'll be a 5-year agreement. So we'll be signing on for 5 years, they'll be signing on for 5 years. So there is some surety for 5 years.
Okay.
And like any position, if there's a time that comes in the future when the funding is cut or there's a reduction somewhere, then obviously there has to be discussion amongst council and staff about whether that position continues forward or doesn't continue forward. If you remember at budget time, we have as Ms. Campbell said, we have a Remo coordinator who's 50% Remo, 50% recreation. So we're already budgeting the 50% recreation. This will pay the other 50% recreation. So the funding there is 100% now. There's no new funding for that. The new funding in the budget was to make the Remo coordinator full-time, of which Ms. Campbell indicated the 2 towns have committed their portion, so our portion is a very small portion. So with that addition, it's a very small increase in our operating budget this year in order to get essentially an extra full-time body.
Correct. Thank you. Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. We now move on to recommendations and reports from boards and committees. Page 66, Heritage Advisory Committee. Councillor LeBlanc, do you wish to speak on that?
Yes. I move that municipal council allow the replacement of the existing light green asphalt shingles to a copper green color metal roofing material for the St. John's Anglican Church in Columbarium at 694 Highway 201, Moshel, and to advise the contractor of the heritage status of the building.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Connell. Discussion. Councillor Bartow.
the existing roof shingles to black. Originally it said green, dark green to black. Was it a typo originally? It was supposed to be black shingles to a dark green roof? Then this says light green, so I just want to be clear.
There was quite a discussion.
Yes.
Yes, there was.
About shingles. Please, Councillor O'Bon.
Their ask was black, but when they came to the table, Mrs. Gillis, thank you, came to the table, she thought that the shingles were to be green, or they had been green and it was supposed to stay green. So we had a long discussion about all this, and it had always been green, so therefore we changed the motion to go to green, and she was quite pleased.
So I just remember that all parties was involved.
No, she was here.
If you wish an esoteric conversation on shingles and window panes and everything else, come to the Heritage Committee.
Served on quite a few years.
Yes. So she's pleased with what has been done, with her consent. Yes. Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor O'Bon.
I move that Municipal Council change the name of the Heritage Advisory Committee to Heritage and History Committee.
Councillor Ansel?
Oh, wasn't that a motion?
Oh,
he seconded.
Moved, you seconded.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Councillor
I was confirmed.
Thank you.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that the subject is sent back to the Heritage Advisory Committee for discussion and a report sent back to council.
So that's an amendment to the motion. Do we have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor O'Bon, you're seconding? Thank you. Councillor Gunn?
I was seconding, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Who seconded?
Councillor O'Bon. Discussion. All in, please.
Just may I seek some clarification? We're referring it back to the Heritage Committee. Is there some question or something you want the committee to consider when they bring back a further report?
Yes, the subject was talked about shortly at the Heritage Advisory Committee, and it was said that at our next meeting, we would have clarification on what the intent of being adding the history side to it. So the Heritage Advisory Committee really did get into a big discussion on it. We were just advised on what would be liked, and we were told that the next Heritage Advisory meeting we would have a meeting on it, or a discussion. So we missed that part.
Yes, that's true. Correct.
All in favor of the amendment?
Yes.
Opposed? No. The amendment is carried. Now we'll vote on the motion as amended. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carried. I might say, just for the edification of council, the suggestion is mine, and the account of what happened at the meeting given by Councillor Connell was entirely correct. Now, the Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve report. Do you have any comments, Councillor Gunn?
Yes, sir. At the last end of that report, it says that Councillor Gunn will be asking council to fund a light lunch he would arrange for board members. I'd like permission to do that, and the funding would be, normally if I go to a Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve, the county covers the cost of my travel there. So that would be in Yarmouth, and I can guarantee you normally that that would be over $100 time as I drive to Yarmouth and back. So I'd like to just place that gas money, instead of putting it in for gas, I'll use it for supplying the light lunch, is my reason behind. Because of where I'm having the meeting is right across the road from the travel.
my initial comment is I'm not sure that money allocated for expenses in one fund can be transferred to another. And if there are things individual councilors would like to do, then they will do them. But you have a motion you'd like to put forward?
No, sir. Well, I guess I could put one that, I guess I can soon make one up. I would move that Annapolis County fund to the tune of $100 to supply a light lunch on June 14th at the Upper Clements Hall for the Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Cotw. Discussion? Councillor Cotw.
Well, it's nice to see that they're willing to move around and have their meetings, so it's more efficient for some people. I mean, Yarmouth is quite a drive for us to participate in a meeting every time there is one, so it was nice to see that they are holding it in our county. And I think they do good work in the Biosphere Reserve, and we need to make sure that communities like this participate in our county to make sure that our lands are preserved. So I'm for the motion.
Thank you. And I would just like to make it clear that the cost of this lunch will be absorbed by the county. Councillor Sheridan.
I was just going to question the motion itself. Are we providing the lunch or just providing the funding and let these people do the lunch? How is that worded again?
Councillor Gunn?
Well, these people would be me,
Okay.
would end up supplying the lunch.
So you're just looking for the funding?
I'm just looking.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that. Thank you.
And if I could add something here, sir. I'm also, the reason we're having it at Upper Clements is because recently we've in the last year, we've put the old park, the picnic park, back to use for the public. There's parts of that that are a little ecologically sensitive, and I'd like to showcase that, and I'd also like to showcase our trails to the Southwest Nova Biosphere across the road.
Excellent, excellent. Councillor LeBlanc, please.
I was just going to ask the same question that Councillor Sheridan was.
Well, you're in good company.
I know.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. New business, Councillor Connell, please. Brooklyn Street Water.
I was talking to, do I put a motion on the floor first?
If you have one, please.
I would like to put a motion on the floor for staff to come back with a report for council on the Brooklyn Water hookup charge.
On the broken one.
Is that on the M13 on the file?
Yeah.
Let me just get the name of that, so we can all call it the same thing.
M13 Brooklyn Sewer and Water Connection Charges.
Yeah.
Sometime you should watch those fingers.
Yes, no.
So for staff to report on what? Staff to bring a report.
Report back on that bylaw.
What do you want it to report on?
Jim already knows. That's what I'm going to discuss.
When people look at the minutes in 10 years
Okay.
from now, they won't.
The cost of hookup.
The cost of hookup?
Yes.
Thank you.
Seconder? Seconder?
Can we read it back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's just give me a second, because sometimes I'm still typing when you're talking. The motion, I believe, is for staff to bring a report back about the cost of hookup in the M13 Brooklyn Sewer and Water Connection Charges bylaw. Do you have a time you want to include in your motion? Where?
They told me to have it for council. this coming council. He's the one that told me.
So, is there a seconder first?
Hey, Councillor Hutton.
No, I just wanted to,
No,
I'll second.
let's have a seconder. Councillor Sheridan, CAO, followed by Councillor Hudson.
Okay, just to clarify. So you want a report related to the bylaw. I assume the report is looking for an assessment from staff or recommendation on the fairness of it?
Yes.
That's what you're suggesting, okay. And you want to, so in order to do that report and get it on the agenda, it's impossible to have it for council next week. It would have to be the next committee of the whole, which is normally the process, so I assume, or did you want it to go directly to the future council? And Mr. Young's away this week as well, so.
I understand that, but I was talking to him when he was at the airport. And he told me, he said, get it on committee of the whole and set it for council because he's already looked into it. He already has all the information. He's already talked to the CAO of Middleton.
Okay.
And the issue is that to hook up, according to that bylaw, to hook up to the water and sewer on Brooklyn Street is $5,000 for any constituent that wants to hook up. But if my constituent in Margarettsville in the same zone wants to hook up to our county water, it's up to about $150 for the meter. Where's the fairness in $5,000 and $150? And Jim's already gone and talked to the CAO of Middleton because he feels that the bylaw is outdated. The loan for putting that system in is completely paid off. The East End is considering changing that zone from industrial to commercial and residential because we put it in industrial because we wanted to see some infill with industrial, and it's never happened. So we've held up people from building on that side of the road on Brooklyn Street for 15, 20 years and have got no more infill. But is it fair? And that's what Jim wanted to discuss, was it fair?
So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, so that'll be in the report. So is council okay with you getting the report next Monday, the day before the meeting?
Because I circulate the agenda tomorrow, and Jim's not here.
Yeah, I know Jim's not here.
Yeah, Jim's not here this week, so the report won't be done and finalized.
But we have the bylaw.
Until Monday, yeah. You have the bylaw.
We have the bylaw, so people can read the bylaw. Jim's just going to talk on the fairness of the bylaw versus our other water systems within our county.
It just won't, the report won't be included in the public council package, and council members won't receive it until Monday, so it doesn't give you a lot of time. But I want to make council aware so they don't feel rushed on Tuesday.
Is that okay?
Yep. So it still isn't included in the motion when it's to come back.
And that's fine. The direction from council is that they want it at the council meeting, and we'll bring it forward.
And why Jim wanted to bring it forward is that there is a house that has already ran their water line right to the edge of the road, and the shutoff is 6 feet away from the end of that house. And they need water. And this bylaw is well overdue to be reconsidered. So they were told, the people in the house was told it would cost up to $500 when they investigated in it. But then when they paid $17,000 to get their water line dug and their hose and their lines all put in, they were told $5,000.
Okay. Deputy Warden, did you have something?
I did, but
Thank you.
Councilor Connell answered.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. I would like, Deputy Warden, could you make a motion, item 8.1?
It's all, that just indicates that there are 3 items in there. So it's still one motion that states the separate sections.
Yes.
Yes.
I move that we go in camera in accordance with section 22(2A, acquisition, sale, and lease and security of municipal property. F, litigation, potential litigation of the municipal government act.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Longmire, discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Good morning again. Committee of the Whole is in session. We have three citizens who will be making presentations to us this morning. And the first is David Savet, who is the president of the Fundy Hospice Society, or the Atlanta Hospice Society. David, please.
Booting up.
First thing, appraisal companies.
Oh, please don't. Ask council for a plastic computer.
Pretty sure there's a line item under that budget. We had a lengthy discussion about what that meant.
I'll make note of it.
That's what happens when you're at church. What comes from the pulpit?
I'll forward you Bill Gates' email so you can on this. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. And just press the space bar to go to the next slide. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Jim.
You took a long time to walk from your seat to there.
I tell you, when technology works, it's great, but when it doesn't work, it goes down that hole real fast. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I think this is my third time doing a presentation. And the objective here is to give you an update of where we are. So the Fundy Hospice Initiative is part of the Atlanta Hospice Society. So just to be clear, the Atlanta Hospice Society is the charitable society raising funds in order to build the Fundy Hospice. So the Fundy Hospice eventually will be the physical entity that would be built in Cornwallis Park. So we are proposing a residential-style hospice with the initial design being up to 5 beds with the possibility of expansion to 10 if necessary. It really depends on the situation as it develops over time. We'll be located in the Cornwallis Park land donated by the ABCC back in 2019. And we currently estimate that the construction costs will be around $5.5 million for the space bar, right? Not the mouse pad. There it goes. So the Atalanta Hospice Society was established in 2017, and we became a charitable organization last year after submitting our application to the CRA. So we're an official charitable. And just to let you know, the name Atalanta originates from the gunship that was captained by Admiral Robert Digby. And it's amazing how many people didn't know that. So our board of directors at this point is myself as president, Jim Medell as secretary, Brian Ritchie as treasurer, Linda Bailey, Jolene Buckles, Dr. Ken Buckles, Ken Davis, Dr. Alan Dill, Brett Kerr, and Heather McCormick. We're always looking for new people, so if you're interested, let me know. And these are the principal committees that we made up. The Hospice and Design and Development Committee, which is basically the committee that is responsible for coming up with the design. We've interfaced with Joe's Architects, delivered the requirements based on the standards of Nova Scotia and plus Ontario. We've also leaned on Ontario. The fundraising and marketing headed up by Jolene. Capital Campaign and Marketing and Communications by Gary Davis, and the Hospice and Palliative Care Committee and Volunteers is headed up by Alan Dill. So this will become, when it's built, the first such facility in southwest Nova Scotia. We hope to have it built by 2030, but there are developments underway which may expedite that, and I'll touch upon that a bit later. The hospice will become one of 4 facilities located in Nova Scotia. As I said, we were going to be looking at a 5-patient bed to start with the ability to expand to 10 if needed. We'll be on Cornwallis Park plan, and the estimated cost will be $5.5 million. So as I said, the CRA accepted our application for becoming a registered society, charity, and so we are able now to issue official tax receipts for any donations. And interestingly, it's had an impact on the communities because the donations have started coming up. It's like a hockey stick. We're down here for a little while, and it's what I call the bake sale at a church level. Where we get the $25, $50, $100 donations. And now we're starting to see things like 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 donations. And I suspect that having the CRA charitable registration has made it more real, I guess. As a result of that ride I did back in 2020, through 250 kilometers on horseback wearing chainmail and all kinds of stuff, we raised enough funds to hire Jolson Architects to develop the first design, which you see bits there. The entire design is on our website. The location is going to be these 2 areas, which were donated by ABCC. The top left or top right corner, I've already had conversations with your planners and having that hopefully donated to our cause by Annapolis County. And so we'll have pretty much a large rectangular area because based on the partnership, which I'll get into, we're looking at about 8 acres for the entire facility. That's another shot from above. The floor plans, you can see the 5 bedrooms along the bottom, and then you have the admin and facilities and nursing stations on the other side. And that's the proposal of the front. And these are each of the 5 rooms with their own balcony or patio access, and then of course into the grounds beyond that if they want. So we will continue to hold a series of meetings and events this year. In fact, we're going to be doing some stuff in the Digby Scallop Days and Lobster Bash this year. Don't know yet what we're going to be doing in Annapolis. Going to have that conversation with Jolene soon. We'll continue with our local fundraising efforts. We had a very successful Fundy Hospice Gala at the Pines last weekend. And we were able to raise, as a result of the gala, about $34,000, and then add to that another $20,000, which was donated by one of the original board members, Doug Irvin's wife, Nancy, at the event, and that pushed the donations to $50,000, north of $50,000, which is really, really good. So the partnership I was talking about is the McLeod Group. They had presented to the Nova Scotia Health and Wellness and Nova Scotia Health an unsolicited proposal to build a long-term care facility integrated with the hospice. So this is where things are going to change a little bit in the coming months, where the idea of integrating the hospice with the long-term care is at the scale of materials and construction and facilities required can be concentrated, where the potential end result of the hospice itself might be $2.5 million as opposed to $5.5 million, because we'll be sharing some facilities, power, staffing will be in there. So even though the long-term care facility is not a charitable corporation, it is a for-profit corporation, there's going to be a dividing line. Like there's a corridor or breezeway that connects the two facilities. There's going to be basically a red line. So beyond the red line is a charitable. So the Fundy Hospice will remain as a standalone charitable entity. And obviously, if McLeod Group says, well, we're gonna throw in another LPN, that is a donation on their part to the hospice operation. So we'll see some of the savings from that perspective. So as I mentioned, in this kind of configuration, the Nova Scotia Health says, this is kind of interesting, because they are a little bit reticent of approving yet another standalone hospice. And standalone hospices means, oh boy, we're going to have to fund another facility because it's standalone and it can't be supported by the community. With this integration with long-term care, obviously some of the patients from long-term care will be shuffled over to the hospice, but the hospice will also serve the community. So there's no fear. You shouldn't have any fear that this is only going to be a McLeod institution or a facility. It's still a community, but we're going to be attached to McLeod, which will help offset the cost of operating. And as I said, we were looking for volunteers to join our board. We're looking for skills in finance and legal, insurance, etc. And we've got the two websites now. There's a Atlanta Hospice Society.ca website, and there's also a fundyhospice.ca website. And as I mentioned before, the Atlanta is the fundraising arm, and the fundyhospice.ca website will be the physical hospice in this project. And that's my presentation.
Thank you, David. Let's see if we have questions or comments from council.
I do hope and that the Annapolis municipality of Annapolis would consider supporting the project. I know that you were involved with the Valley Hospice some time ago. We're not looking for cash on a barrel right now, but I mean, like a pledge would be great if there was a consideration for an annual pledge to this project. So it reduces the risk. But you know what? We're going ahead with this, and hopefully, if the provincial government approves the proposal and starts to approve the various plans that we have in place, it is conceivable, and don't hold me to this, but it's conceivable that we could possibly break ground next year, which would be fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, yeah, Councilor Sheridan, please.
So regarding the ask of the land,
Yes.
that's going to be for the for-profit group, or is that going to be for the hospice group?
Well, the overall plan, we're not sure what these configuration is going to be, but based on the input from McLeod, they said that the project will probably need around 8 acres. So that with that piece added, because right now the two pieces we have is 6.6 acres, and that other piece will make it up to 8 acres. So hopefully that will be enough to build the whole facility.
But it not necessarily will be just for the hospice.
Correct,
It'll be
correct.
For the for-profit.
It's possible. Yeah. So we talked about leasing. So if they construct here, then we'll lease that land, and that'll also help offset the cost of operating the hospice.
So that piece of property could be hospice land leased to the McLeod group.
Yes. Yeah. These are the McLeod group has been very, very flexible. This is whatever's going to work. We want to make this thing work. Whatever's going to work for us, they're going to be okay with. And so the question about, well, we've got the land, we can't just give it over to a for-profit corporation. But we can certainly come up with a lease thing, and then that will help offset the cost of the hospice. So there's, we're talking about different ways of making this thing work. Obviously, the partnership will expedite the establishment of the hospice. So instead of 2030, it could be as early as next year or the year after.
Thank you for that.
Councilor Enzo, please.
Thank you.
No, followed by Councilor Long.
Okay.
So, I believe you answered most of my questions, but that was one of my big concerns was if there was potential ask for a plot of land that it would be used by for-profit organization when the county's already done things with another long-term care facility and done it at an actual fair market value. It just, the optics does not look good if we do one and not the other.
Yeah, I understand.
So that was my concern, was this plot of land, if it was to be requested, would solely be owned by the hospice facility.
Yeah.
And if McLeod would to use it, it would be leased to them.
Correct. Which would benefit the hospice.
Yes.
Right? Because we're looking for ways to reduce our dependency on the government, because government change all the time. Policies change, budgets change and stuff. So if we have a certain degree of autonomy from the government and just the relationship with McLeod Group enables hospice to continue to operate as a charity and as a standalone entity, serving the community as well as long-term care facility, you can't ask for a better deal than that.
And the part two of that question, so if it went down the road to start leasing, for example, would there be another ask to the county in regards to tax exemptions and different things like that?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Yeah.
Because then you have a lot of land that you're now profiting from, which I understand. I'm 100% for the hospice situation. Yeah. I believe it's what we need. I'm also on board for long-term care because that's what we need. I just have these lingering questions of, the best decisions that we can make, and making sure we make the right decision and treating everyone equally.
Yeah.
So that's just the type of questions that I'm really interested in.
Yeah. And we've had those conversations, and we still need more conversations regarding that. But the land donated will be donated to the Atlanta Hospice Society because we have the title to the other two parts at this time. So it'll just be expanded to include the third part. And then we'll see how it unfolds with the McLeod Group. We appreciate the optics, and this is the first of its kind, right? So I know that Nova Scotia Health is saying, this is a great idea, while they're scratching heads, how's this going to work? And so we've been having those conversations, and we are cognizant of the fact that we have to make it in a way that will preserve the integrity of the project and preserve the integrity of the hospice, and at the same time come up with this creative solution that will help, the communities.
Thank you.
Councillor Longmire, please.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Great presentation.
Thank you.
I guess I would ask of you if that partnership, and however it looks, like on paper, would they have a priority over those hospice beds? You had made mention that, the hospice would be available to the community, not to worry about that.
Yeah.
But I would suspect that there would be, as you had said, patients going from the long-term care into hospice. That could easily use up 5 beds on a regular basis, right?
According to the numbers from McLeod Group, they're looking at 1 to 2 beds per month. Right, so there'll be at least 3 beds available for the community. Obviously, this could change. They could have a situation where you have 4 or 5 deaths in a month from a long-term care facility and the beds are all occupied. There could also be a situation where you have 4 or 5 beds occupied by the community and the long-term care facility has to use another facility. So there's no preference. It is there for the community, and the long-term care facility is part of the community. Those people who require hospice care, doesn't matter if they come from the long-term care or from Digby Hospital or Annapolis.
So I'll just expand on that just a little bit more. So when a patient comes from long-term care and goes into a hospice bed, it then opens up the profit bed. Right?
Yeah.
So it goes from, the charitable portion of hospice that community is going to be, hopefully it's going to be realized because we do need that, right?
Yeah.
As we do know, we need long-term care beds. So when it opens up that bed for the long-term care side, that is going to be a profit for the McLeod's group.
Correct.
Right? So they easily could see themselves using the hospice side, because I would suspect there's no fee to the client to come to hospice. Is that right?
Yeah. We envision that there's going to be a sliding rule. So we have 5 beds, which is allocated to hospice. And McLeod has said that, listen, if that's full and we need to back into the long-term care facility, if we've got beds that are available, we'll turn them into hospice beds, right? So they really want to make this thing work. The funding model, we're still trying to work that out. The real point is that without this sort of model, we're not going to see the hospice until 2030, if that. And so we need to leverage the resources that are available to us and the interest by McLeod goes, yeah, you know what, this could work. Let's make it work in a way that is suitable and integral to the community. So we're not being bulldozed by those guys. We've had a number of meetings with them, and they've been always adamant that whatever is going to work for us is okay with them.
Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Steve.
Councillor Bartow, please.
There'll be a million questions coming down the road, I guess, but just limited to one area, talking about the land. I guess that's kind of what's on top right now. You're saying that there'll be a lease option to the Cotw Group. I guess I was wanting to make sure that it wasn't intended that the land would be subdivided off for a portion for them. And
I see.
Leasing is one thing, and you're maintaining ownership is one thing, but it gets a little more complicated in that respect. But we would want to know up front what the intentions were, and if there, maybe has some stipulations in there that couldn't be just given over to another for-profit group.
Yeah.
And I guess you were saying by 2030, well, or maybe before, but with the relationship between the Atlanta and Cotw Group, what is, can you tell us what their timeline is? Would they be building prior to the hospice?
No.
No.
No. If the proposal is approved by Nova Scotia Health, they're prepared to just dig a hole in the summer, next summer, and start. And it'll be both the facilities, will be the long-term care facility and the hospice. Because by having both facilities being built at the same time, there's economies of scale. And we're leveraging that in order to reduce the cost of the build. And then once the construction is completed and is being fitted with services and stuff, there's going to be transfer services between the two. There's going to be standalone services for hospice. There'll be standalone services for long-term care. And we talked about things like, well, what about if there's a power failure or there's some catastrophic event? Well, we can move the patients into long-term care. And if there's an issue of we actually talking about backup capabilities for the long-term care as well, because we have to ensure that there's always power, because a lot of these people will be on electronic and digital devices for their health, and that includes the hospice. So, we're talking about all these kinds of things, and I wish I could be more specific, but we're still trying to work this out because it's so new. The Nova Scotia Health said, this is a really great idea, but they're still scratching their heads, and we're trying to figure out how this could move forward and benefit not only the hospice, but the community as well. So take heart, we're not going to do anything silly. It's conceivable that if we got that other piece and added to the title of Atalanta Hospice Society, and then one scenario could be, well, you know what, McLeod just wants to buy the whole thing, so we can hand back or sell back the land to ABCC for $1 and back to Annapolis for $1, and then it's sold to McLeod Group, and it becomes a for-profit property, but they're going to carve out a piece of, we're going to donate this parcel or for this wing, which is the hospice, and that's going to be a charitable corporation. I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin this, so we're not sure at this point, but we're very excited that there is a really huge opportunity here, and I'm betting you that if we can make this thing work, and it looks really good on paper, and from the optics perspective, that Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, they're all going to say, hey, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stop building standalone hospices. We're going to do this instead because it works.
So the intention, I guess it's too early, in this schematics to see what the build is going to be, but the original build will be for 5 rooms, but with the potential of 5 more.
Right.
So I guess the plan will have those on the footprint at some point, so that they would amalgamate for centralized services.
That's right. I don't know if I can get back on this thing.
So the next slide might be another wing. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. How do you get back? There it goes, okay, I got it. There it goes. So there's the 5 rooms at the bottom. And the additional wing, which will have 5 more rooms, is just off to the left, right here. So that wall will come down, and then that room will be removed, and that becomes a corridor, and you get 5 more rooms down here. So the intention is that when we actually build, some of these units we don't need it. It becomes redundant because we have that facility and services in long-term care. So things like that become smaller, and somewhere is going to be, the location this might be shoved down further into the property, because right now we're in the corner. And then, tag onto that, a breezeway or a corridor that goes into the long-term care facility. So there's a partition between for-profit and a charitable corporation.
So the intention is this is on kind of the southwest corner of that, of group of 3?
Not sure yet. Yeah. Because I think the call's talking about 85 rooms, 85 bed facility, I think. So it's quite large. So that might have to be shoved down, or there could be. I honestly don't know. We're just still talking about
the master plan will set aside whatever's required to double the number.
Sorry?
master plan will set aside enough property for
Yes,
that.
yeah.
And then the McLeod's section will be.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to leverage the architectural rendering in the new facility. So whatever we've done to this point, we might chop off a few of the items, but we're going to try to leverage as much of the design as possible with the long-term care.
Try not getting more detail for that.
Thank you. Further?
Right here.
Councilor Gunn, please.
Thank you very much. Listen, I'm all for hospice, but I don't feel that the taxpayers, all the rest of the taxpayers in the county should necessarily be on the hook, because a lot of them don't necessarily or will even use the hospice. It's a great service to have there. The land you seek from the county could, for the future would cost, the land you seek from the county would cost a fortune to do anything with down there. It's in a hollow, it would have to be filled in, there's ditches going through it, there's infrastructure under it, not that that makes a big difference, but it would cost a lot. So my question would be, there's more and better land to the west of your future site of it that the Basin Conference Center owns. It's basically a parking lot over there.
Yes.
Why are they not offering more land in that direction? Because this over here is really, it's not, anything can be developed, but it would cost a fortune. So I guess my point there was, future, oh yes, is the reason for this ask from the county just to make up 8 acres so that McLeod's is interested?
They are interested regardless.
They're interested regardless,
Yes,
so you necessarily don't need that property.
They claim they need 8 acres
Well, then,
for the facility.
okay.
Right?
They claim that.
Yeah.
So it's to satisfy their interest.
That's right.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. And, the location that the property, it might actually change, I mean, if McLeod says, when we talked to Ramsay just recently, he says, there's a road that goes down the middle of the property. He didn't recall that was there. So, we may need a block of 8 acres that is not bifurcated by a road. So that might change the location of the hospice somewhere in Annapolis.
Sorry, are you talking about Vimy Crescent?
Yeah, Vimy Crescent.
Vimy Crescent is not a road. It's space that people use to travel, but it's not a road.
Oh, really?
Really.
Oh, I learned something new today. Right.
It was just part of the
When the hospital was here before, did that occupy the whole area or just that part?
Yeah, just that part.
Just that part. And so.
It's a service road, basically.
So that road can be removed and that would require communicating with the residents, I guess, saying that road's going to go, or?
It's one of the 200 private roads in the county.
Okay. So this is not, so what I'm hearing is that this is not entirely a stumbling block, that we could discuss this property with McLeod as being 8 acres contiguous.
Yeah, early on, when I first came on council, and it was explained to me that we don't service that road, we don't do this, we don't do that. It's just it's a laneway that people use not to go to the eastern or western exits and entrances.
Well, that's good to know, because by the next meeting with Ramsay is fairly soon, so I'm going to mention that, because I think Ken actually brought it up that there's a road going through the middle. It goes, what road? And so there was raised some questions, so that's good to know.
Well, first of all, we thank you for coming again. I tell you what really impressed me about your presentation is you said, I don't know. We're still talking about that. And it shows, first of all, frankness, and it shows the amount of time and deliberation that you're spending with the government and with McLeod. And as you know, when we receive presentations that ask for certain things, we don't make the decision then. And I would imagine that as things develop, you might want to keep us informed of any changes.
Sure.
Good luck today.
The original mission of the Atlanta Hospice has not changed, and we're preserving that. And McLeod is good with that because, we keep raising it up in our conversation that, well, we got to do this. Yes, we will do that. Because I believe that this is a really great model, and I think it's going to be one that's going to be replicated across the country.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will move to the Basin Aquatics Association. Bert McNeil. For the third time. You and David are fast becoming constant friends.
Board and council and staff, thanks very much. And Krista?
Yes.
I'm glad to meet you because it's something with my brother Krista.
I used to try to get his business card, but they told me Halifax didn't help, so.
No. Anyway, folks, short and sweet, what I'm here for today is an ask. I'm asking for $125,000. Right now, everybody else of the other three municipalities are waiting to see what's going to happen. I understand that's quite a bit of money. And I also understand that they're paying quite a bit of tax too. So the county in one sense is gaining on one, losing on one hand, gaining on the other because of the property tax, the water, the sewer for both businesses that are down there. That's what we're looking at. I heard that somebody was asking what our rent will be. I just figured out while I was sitting outside there before, it's around $88,000 a year is what we will pay for rent. We have 12,800 square feet of space, so that's what our rent's going to be. Any questions, folks? I know there's...
Comments, questions? Councilor Gunn, please.
Thank you very much. Bert, do you envision this being a line item jammed in our budget for the next few years, or what?
Well, honestly, Mike, I can't answer that right now. I will answer it this way. We'll probably be back next year. Okay?
Thank you.
Our hope is to be able to come stand alone, right? But right at this stage of the game.
We need 100. You need 100 and a quarter to get going. Thank you.
Councilor LeBlanc, please.
So, at this time, you did not receive anything from the three other municipalities of you?
Nothing yet.
Nothing.
They were all waiting to see what's going on here.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, and is there any way of getting anything from the government, the provincial government?
There is, but it's mostly for equipment right now. Okay. I have another venue, but it's a private park. But right now, at this point in time, like I had a meeting with them last week, and they said until I find out what's going on with the four municipalities, I really can't say, right? So that's the dilemma I'm in.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Longmire, please.
Thank you. Thanks again for coming back and sharing the details that you have today. I guess I would start with the neighbors, our neighbors in that community. The sea plant, had you inquired as to any kind of support that they might be?
That's who I was in conversation with last week.
Okay, that's great. Good to hear.
But that's depending on what we get from the four municipalities, that's going to be a separate presentation because the account that they have right now we don't qualify for anything out of that. So our ask would have to go straight to the ownership.
Right.
And see what we can do there.
And as well, I had mentioned at the last presentation about the Special Olympics. Had any...
I haven't talked to anybody, honestly, we haven't talked to anybody.
Sure.
I haven't talked to anybody yet, so.
So with the 125,000, is that the same amount that you're asking from each of the municipalities? No.
No, from Digby County and Digby Town, I've asked for 25 each. Town of Annapolis Rural, I've asked for 15,000, only because of population and blah, blah, blah.
Sure. I'm just trying to make sense out of a lot of it, because we do have a number of facilities right in our county that really do struggle as well, right?
Yes, no.
And I did see an announcement from FAPS, Friends of Annapolis School Society. They had made that on social media, that they have a large request before council as well. Now, we have not seen that, but I know that others are, seeking support, because it's expensive.
Yes.
Right? And short seasons for outdoor pools, but, it's a different undertaking with
this one, yeah.
Basin, yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks for that today.
Okay.
Further comments, questions? Oh, yes, Councillor Insel, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation again. I believe a lot of the other councillors spoke to everything that I want to speak, except, so you mentioned that you don't qualify for Nova Scotia type partnerships potentially, but what about a COA?
We haven't looked at that, but...
Because the only question I have is, so this is our third meeting that we've had. And every time you come back, we make questions of, have you contacted this person or this person? And a lot of times the answer is, no, we haven't looked at that, or just the question I would have is, if I was coming to make a presentation, I would look at all those options first before coming to say, oh, no, we haven't done that. Only because this is a huge ask.
Yes.
120,000 for a facility that we used to have, that we've now got rid of, and now you want to support. It's just, and our portion is, of course, the highest.
Yes.
Which I don't quite agree with, especially with Digby County being so close. That, asking 25K from them, 25,000 from Digby, and then 120 from us, that just seems, it doesn't match up. So that was my only thing, is I would like to see if there was more information, that you exhaust all those options to make sure that if this is something that we do end up supporting, that the goal would be to be self-sufficient. Because at what point do we have to say, sorry, we can't support all of these things without raising taxes and different things?
I understand what you're saying. I guess the only answer I have for that is, until I find out what is available from the four municipalities, to go to somebody else and ask them, what do I ask them for, right? It's a catch-22, if you will. I mean, there are plenty of venues out there, I guess, but I don't know a whole lot about a COA. But there's a lot of venues out there. But what is it going to tie us into in that? I have no idea what's going on with four municipalities. Yes, this is my third presentation, but it's right now the other three we're hanging off of this one. So.
And of course, we're waiting to see what the other one, it's a big mess.
It is.
I just feel that there is a lot of other opportunities outside of county funding that potentially can be exhausted for something like this, especially with the unique situation that it's in a privately owned building. And it's just, because my question would be, what happens in the future if that isn't successful, what will happen then to your society? So if they decide to, oh, well, I don't want to be here no more, and I sell the building or close, like that would be the concern. Are we then on the hook for continuing that maybe your association would, it just, for me, it just seems to go down a long rabbit hole. And I'd have to see a real concrete answer in case on what the future is going to be.
We potentially have right now a 25-year lease on that space, so it hasn't been signed yet, but I have the lease. But I just need to review it with somebody that knows leases. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Councillor Gunn, please.
Thank you very much. So you're asking us, the organization's asking us for $125,000 and they're hoping to get another 65. That's going to make $190,000. We're going to take $88,000 a year rent off that. So we can, operational expenses for that are going to be $102,000 a year. Is that just for staffing, or in that 88 lease, that rent? That $88,000, does that cover your electricity and your water usage and that? There's a lot of unforeseens here.
It's all part of the lease. Yeah.
That's all. So our operational expense.
But see, Mike, if I can, the 190 that we're talking about here, you're talking about there. There's also over 400,000 that comes from people that are buying memberships. Into the pool. So
there's 400,000.
There's two sides to that, right? Yeah, it's a little over 400,000. It's 400
with membership.
Memberships, yes.
Wow, that's a big dollar.
Yeah.
Well, we never certainly had that before, I didn't think.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it's on paper.
Wow. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Ansel, please.
Sorry. So, for the comment that Councillor Gunn made me think of something from your last presentation, that you were going to find out in regards to the membership that the YMCA had, because that would be a good calculation. Because 400,000 does seem like a large number of people being committed to that. I don't even know if the membership so say 14 Wing, the sports facility, I wonder if their membership is at that high. It just seems like a high number for our area. And did you ever find out anything from the YMCA?
No.
Still nothing? Okay.
No. There was, I don't want to call it banter, but stuff back and forth. But there were two meetings with the Y, and at both times they were asked for info, and we never got it. So the only info we got was what public, their expenses and everything else for 19, 20, 21. Okay. And looking at those. But see, our survey, we had 958 people respond to that survey. That's where we're getting our figures from. Because we also, in our survey, had the prices for family, for single.
Yes.
So that's where those figures are coming from, to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Bartow, please.
Hey, quick question. Your survey just made me think, how expensive was that, and where was the results coming from? Did that include Digby County? Did that include towns and everywhere else? So it's not just responsible for the county.
From what I know, it's not broken down in this is from Annapolis County, this is from Digby County, this is from Digby Town or Annapolis Town, but it included all four.
Yeah. There's no percentage of how much was weighted into Digby County.
How much weight what?
So you don't have breakdowns?
Oh, no. Not at this time. Not until we start doing memberships. We won't know that I can say, here are the facts here. Here's how many from Digby, here's how many from Annapolis County, here's how many from the town of Annapolis, town of Digby.
Be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Further comments? As you know, Bert, the
Yes.
litany goes, you speak for a short period of time.
Yeah.
We hear what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And we'll take it under consideration and get back to you.
No, and I appreciate that. I thank you guys for your time, and hopefully we can all go.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
See you, thank you.
Now we move to our third presentation by Save Our Old Forces, the lists. And Nina Newington, Nina, you're going to speak? Yeah. Please. Do you have an electronic presentation or?
I do. Yeah. Do you see it there on the screen? Eric's gonna come up and.
Give them a gun.
And your thumb drive should be right there for you. Put it up. It's already on there. It's already on.
Oh, okay.
I'm just returning it to you there.
Thank you.
This is just your notes and stuff like that. Just to move ahead, you can use that or press the space bar.
So, hello everybody, thank you, Warden, for hearing us. So this is our Save Our Old Forest campaign is coming to make a request of the Municipal Council. Let me just kick you through. So let me tell you a moment about the Save Our Old Forest campaign. This is sponsored by the Arlington Forest Protection Society over in Hampton, working with citizen scientists of Southwest Nova, which is a rather loose group of us who've been going out into the forests and identifying species at risk lichens, and conversing with the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables about what's happening to our forests. We launched our campaign in Bridgetown on the 25th of March. Some of you were there, and thank you. I appreciate you coming. So this council has a long history of being concerned about the state of forests in Annapolis County, and with good reason. I'm just looking at this. This is supposed to be a fancy animation. We'll see whether it works. So the map that's up there is of Annapolis County. Those little pink spots are forest cover loss back in 2001. And these are satellite photographs. Now, what should happen... Yes, there we go. That's what's happened over the last 20 years. That's the forest cover loss between 2001 and 2021. Pretty much all of that is clear cutting because that's what shows up as forest cover loss. As you can see, the area of the South Mountain above the Annapolis River has been very hard hit. Some of those forests will regrow and are regrowing. So what in Canada and in Nova Scotia we're looking at is not deforestation, meaning forests that turned into cities or farmland. What we're looking at is forest degradation. And that means that forests that were older, more complex, more resilient, when they're cut down and put to restart, they're younger, less resilient, and less able to support wildlife. Also less able to do things like buffer storms. So people who live on the 201 certainly have experienced the difference. If you get a heavy rain falling onto an old forest, the trees diffuse the rainfall, the spongy floor with all the organic matter soaks it up and releases it slowly. When that storm rain hits a clear cut, it just makes tracks downhill as fast as possible, taking soil and rocks with it. So those experiences are already happening here. Fortunately, there is a growing awareness of the importance of forests.
Sorry, I just had a quick question. So the picture itself, that is just mind-blowing, but there's a few large areas that are not clear-cut.
Yeah.
Are they areas that are currently already protected, or like, I'm just curious of those areas, are they privately owned, are they?
Largely, yes. I don't think I have a pointer, but...
Like I'm talking about like the top right there.
Yep, that's Cloud Lake.
Kind of in the middle.
Cloud Lake Wilderness area.
Oh, okay, perfect. And then the one kind of in the middle, is that Kedge-Makuchik?
Well, down here in this corner is Kedge.
Yeah.
The middle area...
So that must be Lake Pleasant area.
And unfortunately, that isn't protected, and it's a perfect example of what I'm going to talk about, because they've just put through, they just clear cut a whack of it, and they've got harvest plans to cut more.
Okay.
The areas, this is Goldsmith Lake. The little areas that aren't cut, those are areas that we've put in proposals to protect, because as you can see, there's very little intact forest.
Yeah.
Left, and unfortunately it's under threat. But we'll come back to that in a moment.
Yeah, just going back to the map again, what areas are protected? And
roughly Cloud Lake Wilderness, just kicking over into Kings, Kedge and the Tobiatic Wilderness, and then there is the Medway Forest Wilderness area that's sort of in here, but this area is not yet protected.
Is that owned by one person or just a...
It's a lot of it's crown land.
Oh, that's crown.
So this is pretty much all crown land.
Fair game now.
Thank you.
Sure. So, as you probably know, across the globe, we're facing a climate change and biodiversity crisis. In Montreal in December, an agreement was reached to protect 30% of the world's lands and oceans by 2030. 186 countries signed on to that, including Canada. Unfortunately, here in Nova Scotia, the current government got in partly on an election pledge to protect 20%. 20% in Nova Scotia, and they actually put it into legislation. So the election pledge got turned into law. And it's a good thing. Nova Scotia isn't a huge province. We don't have vast amounts of crown land, which is where most of the protected area is going to come from, because we don't have to buy it again. So the question, though, is when is this going to happen? Because very little has happened in the last 2 years. And what the government is promising is at the end of this year, they'll come up with a plan to make a plan, basically. Not much progress has been made. We're currently at 13% protected. To get to 20% is a huge amount of land. It's 330,000 hectares. That's 3 Tobiatic wildernesses by 2030. But the question that we all want to ask is, which forest should we protect? These are photographs from Goldsmith Lake, one of the areas I indicated. It's here on the South Mountain. It's got a couple of patches of recognized old-growth forest, but we think it has much more than has been recognized. So we've been in there and looking, but this is the kind of forest that most needs protection, because it's the kind of forest that stores the most carbon and protects the most wildlife, and is also in the shortest supply. So old forests don't just store carbon in the trees, they store it in the soil. In fact, twice as much carbon is stored in the soil as in the tree trunks, which people don't talk about, but it's, and if you clear cut that and the sun beats down, that carbon gets released back up. And these forests, old forests aren't just old trees, they're mixed trees, they're mixed forests. They have, the nature of an old growth forest is it's the most complete forest. It has little seedlings and it has dead giants on the ground rotting down and has everything in between. And you can't make them happen any faster than time. It takes 100 years to get even close to beginning to have something that's an old-growth forest. And we really don't have very many of them. So we're taking forests over 80-year-old as a reasonable measure. Those are not really, by many measures, a super old forest. But we don't have much. So these are figures from the various iterations of the Department of Natural Resources. They're from the Nova Scotia Forest Inventory Summary. And I won't go into breaking them down, but basically in 1958, 25% of the province's forests were over 80. At that point, the foresters were going, oh my God, our forests have been so degraded. Just saying, we're not looking at everything was perfect in 1958. It's just they were in better shape than they are now. And by these figures, by the time you get to 2003, that figure is down to 1.5%. Wow. These figures, then the government changed how they collect these figures and made it impossible to compare back, which is why we're working with the figures that still allow you to compare that were from the provincial inventory. It's not really possible to be sure exactly how much forest is over 80, but we're sure that we need to protect it because there's really not that much of it. So unfortunately, while the government has this pledge to protect 20% by 2030, what they're actually doing is going ahead and approving logging plans for some of the best of what should be protected, which is old forests that are not just in little tiny fragments, but have a little bit of intactness. So when you looked at that image of Goldsmith Lake, not all of the forest right around Goldsmith Lake is old forest. Some of it was clear-cut 50 years ago. But if you want to protect old forest and what it does for biodiversity, you need to protect bigger areas. Because cutting right up to the edge of old growth and then thinking that's going to work doesn't work. You need forests that are not too disturbed. So unfortunately, Goldsmith Lake had been relatively untouched. These were cuts that were approved pre-2022. All of the rest of these little olive outlines, which are a little bit hard to see here, all the way over to Dalhousie Lake, all of those were put up for comment on the province's Harvest Plant Map Viewer last spring. Some of us commented. It's not a very useful process, but some of us commented. They went ahead and approved all of this logging. So that's a huge area. It's supposedly under the ecological matrix of the new and improved Leahy report. Forestry, and there are improvements there. Things are slightly better. But the basic deal is it's not ecological forestry if you go in and cut a forest that shouldn't be cut. And we have so little left that these forests should be protected. What's happened because of the activities of the citizen scientists is that we went in and we started finding species at risk lichens, almost all of which are indicators of old-growth forest. They only show up in ancient forest. So they tell you right away that this is forest that should be protected. It's very, 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 very minusculely little old-growth forest, meaning maybe over 125, 140, less than 1% for sure, but probably a quarter of a percent. The good thing is that the Department of Natural Resources has actually put a hold on all of the cut blocks that we found, where we found species at risk who either on the cut block or the buffer zones around the cut block affect them. They're still cutting here. There isn't a hold over there. It's great that we go out and do this, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we have to go out through the winter for countless hours to find a few species at risk in a place where the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables should have gone and looked themselves, but no, they don't have the people to do that. And instead they're approving. cuts without this information. We did the same thing at Last Hope. They said, oh, no, there's no species at risk there. We've looked at it twice, don't worry, we've got this. And then we went in and we found so many that they finally admitted that they couldn't cut 60%. So this is why we're having this campaign. It's not that we're opposed to all forestry, but we are really opposed to logging forests that should be protected. And that's the simple line right there. So, here's what we've done at Goldsmith Lake is we've gone in and found all of those species at risk. But at this point, we shouldn't just be talking about protecting one little forest in this way. We need to be looking at the bigger picture because that's what's already in legislation to protect 20% by 2030. It makes no sense that they're going in and logging forests that are absolutely the best forests that are left. And that's the reason for our campaign and for our petition. So this is the wording of the petition that we're circulating in Annapolis County. I could read it out to you, but I could also...
No, we have it.
Okay. So at this point, we've been circulating this since March 25th, and we have 1,530 signatures. Paper petitions are, as you all know, much more work than online clicks, but they also represent interactions with people and responses and concern. And we know that Annapolis County residents care about forests. But I think even I've been surprised by how strong people's response is. That, we're all frightened. We're frightened by what climate change is doing and what we're seeing it doing. Those of us who are paying attention are frightened by biodiversity loss. And the truth is that protecting our old forests is a really simple, direct thing that we can do that makes a difference to both of those major existential crises. So what we're asking from you is something very simple. We're asking that the warden make the same request as the petition of the province. I know that the province has jurisdiction over forests. We've been down this road. I know that the province has not greeted requests from the council with even much respect in the past. But we really have to keep trying because we don't have another alternative. We can't make up the forests that they're cutting down. We need to stop this. And what we're asking for is a pause. And the reason we're asking for that pause is not so that every single forest with trees over 80 is protected. It's so that there's time to go out and look at those forests and decide which ones should be protected before they get logged. That's the request. So I think I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Good. Questions, comments? Deputy Warden.
You answered my question, Nina, so you just get my comment. Your lichen work out at Last Hope was fantastic. I thought using the government's regulation to accomplish what you want the government to do, as you said, it is their responsibility to do it, but using their regulation to make them do that was fantastic and brilliant. And I attended your lichen identification seminar, and it was also excellent. So that was great. I've stood in some old growth forests. I've had that privilege. They're different. They feel different than another forest does. And we had a discussion at a forest thing on Friday I went to. We were trying to describe that to each other who have all stood in old growth forests, and you still don't have the words to describe it other than that it's just different, which is quite strange. And then I'll have a little tidbit from a journal article I read probably 15 years ago. And that's when you clear cut a forest, even if it's regenerating, it's still emitting more carbon than it's absorbing for 7 years. That's a long time. And you see the amount of mass, like a regenerating forest is accumulating every year. It's not insignificant. So it's disturbing.
Further comments? Councillor Gunn.
Can't get away with it.
Chief Forest.
Thank you very much, Anita, for coming, and your group for doing what you're doing. Your picture showed well the devastation in 2021 as compared to the years before, and I'm sure it would look much different now in 2023. I've had a call recently about the devastation in Victory on the couple of big pieces of property. Not only did they strip the property off, leaving barely nothing in between, but they've also ruined the roads. And out that way now, who really fixes those roads out through the woods? It's quite a lot of devastation. I'm also, through the county here, I'm a member of what they call the former Western Crown Land Stakeholders Interaction Committee. It's quite a handle. And it's a group of people that are looking to look after our lands, our crown lands. Industry is there as well. And I would encourage you folks to attend the next meeting that's coming up next month, just to hear just to get your message out there as well, because this is lands and forest, or whatever they call themselves now. Somebody referred to them last week as the Department of Destruction and Forests, which I thought was very funny. And I want to make it also another pitch here. The county, Annapolis County, has entered into an agreement with the Western Woodlot Forest Cooperative Services to ecologically manage a piece of our county lands. And by doing this, we hope that we can lead by example. To people that have a lot of private land. There's a lot of private land, not just government land, crown land. There's a lot of private land. And we feel that if we put a piece of our property into a managed forest situation, it'll give people another option rather than just go and answer the cell phone from Buddy that wants to buy your land, and he'll come and clear cut it off and give you a nice big fat check. So I just wanted to mention that. I'll send you out the date and for that. And I want to thank you again for what you folks are doing. Thank you.
Councillor Longmire, please.
Thank you, Warden. I just want to say a huge thank you, Nina, for bringing this information to us. And I know much discussion has been had and is ongoing, and the group that has as well come with you in representation of this huge undertaking and the commitment that I want to be able to give personally as a citizen is there. It's a tremendous undertaking, and I would like to think that our government will stand behind the words that they have now made legislated and commit to that percentage, right? And that we're not going to wait until another government before we see action. It's imperative. So thank you.
Councillor Cotw, please.
Yes. Years ago, when Boldwater Mersey owned a fair amount of land, and most of the crown land that was taken over by the province, I had the enjoyment of being on that committee, and we went to a portion of Old Forest, and it is medicinal. It's really amazing to see some of that old growth, but also in my previous life, I worked for the Department of Transportation, and over the years, we saw the devastation of clear cutting. We didn't have to go in the forest to see it as Department of Transportation, because our road systems aren't built for the volume of water that's hitting our surfaces. And people can call and complain all they want that their culvert's not big enough. There's a reason why it's not big enough. 30 years ago, it was big enough. 50 years ago, it was more than big enough. Now, our road systems are not capable of handling the off-fall water because of clear cutting, most of it. So our roads are being washed out every year. Our culverts aren't big enough, so they're going over top of the culverts, taking the driveways out. Our government spends a phenomenal amount of money every year just doing road structure repairs because of the water system that's been created. So it is very noticeable on the systems.
Councillor Cotw, please.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. And as you mentioned, many of us were in Bridgetown at the Legion for that Saturday experience, and it was very worthwhile. Listening again today, I'm reminded of in younger times, walking through some old growth stands in Yarmouth County with my father and my grandfather. And I want to echo the other comments. It's a spiritual experience, and one of which I think we're in danger of losing. Well, I know we're in danger, unless things can change. And thank you all for your work.
Councillor Ansel.
Just have a quick one. Thank you again. I'm just curious about how the other counties look compared to Annapolis County. Is that something like, I'm from the South Shore, and there's been a lot of clear cutting, and thankfully my family's been able to purchase quite a few hectares of land to potentially save some of that. But I'm just curious of how it looks from our perspective. Is it worse? Is it, the whole thing's it's a mess, but I'm just curious from our perspective of, is the other counties around ours in better shape?
Well, in general for Nova Scotia, believe it or not, the forestry industry views the Southwest as the last great fiber basket in Nova Scotia because they've already pillaged the rest of the province. So we actually look better than some of them do. But wow, because there's very little left, and it is desperate for us to protect it. When you look at those maps, I don't think I spent as much time down at the Yarmouth County, but Queens and Shelburne have been hit hard.
Yeah.
And really there's just been, at this point, a desperate amount of over-harvesting for a very, very long time. And the model of forestry has progressively gone towards high volume, low quality, keeping the contractors just barely squeaking by with their payments. I mean, I have a lot of sympathy for a lot of contractors because they are tied to leases on equipment. But as a model of how to treat the forests, I mean, if we don't stop now, we're going to stop in 5 years having taken everything. So this is the moment to stop some of this. I mean, we're not going to stop all of it, but this is the moment to stop some of it. But yeah, believe it or not, we're not in the worst shape. Yeah, and that's sad.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming. I enjoyed the day session, afternoon session in Bridgetown. And as I said to you in an email, I met some people there who couldn't distinguish one tree from another, but they came because of the publicity, and they came to be educated and to learn, and that was a great thing. And I've been sitting here looking at the contingent you brought with you today, and on one hand, congratulating myself that I know 20%, and beating myself over the head that it's 80% I don't know. So what we do is, whether you're here asking for 200,000 or you're asking for support for a petition, is we don't make decisions at this time. We then, and we have a very active forestry committee, we take under advisement the written paper you've given us and the presentations, and then we'll make our decision and let you know as soon as we can. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
After lunch.
Get together, you know, there's power and
Okay, unless there are objections, I will adjourn this meeting of the Committee of the Whole. And we will return after lunch, if that's all right, for the special council meeting, or does council want to do otherwise?
How long will the special council meeting go?
It shouldn't go very long.
So if this meeting's adjourned, you can turn